Hi, I'm Karen MacNeil for WineSpeed, and today we went to the famous Oakville tasting in the Napa Valley. It's always a mad dash to try to even get into this tasting because so many of the famous estates in the valley are here, from Screaming Eagle to Harlan to Opus One and on and on. We asked several winemakers and vintners what Oakville wines are really like. What do they smell like, taste like, and feel like?
Well, there's no doubt there is definitely a character to them. Trying to describe it, I think it comes down to the terroir. You have this rusty red earth that somehow or other produces a range of bouquets and tastes which are broad, they are very complex, they have just about everything you could ever wish. And if you make it properly, they have a length which is extraordinary.
Oakville, it's right in the breadbasket, in the heart of the Napa Valley Appalachians. And with that comes this, it's hard to explain, this richness that, my mom always describes as smooth, which we use a lot, but it just has this expressiveness, richness, chocolatey. There's nothing really gritty or rough about it. It's this, I don't know, beautiful, luxurious, warm electric blanket of flavor.
Oakville's a diverse appellation, and there's so many noteworthy producers. And there's different slope angles and soil types, but it all kind of rolls together. And there's a connection of the wines that I think of it as texture and structure. Rutherford has dust. St. Helena is strawberries. Howell Mountain is blackberries. Calistoga is cherries. And those are flavors. I think of Oakville as being a structural element that's hard to kind of put your finger on, and that's what makes it so magical and wonderful. Is it's beyond something that's easy to delineate.
In the next 30 or 40 years, it'll be 3 different appellations. I think in general, Oakville has like that textbook Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon that people like, so that dark black fruit character. I would say on the east side of the valley, where Dalla Valle and where we make our Favia wines from up on that hill, very dark, very muscular wines. And then in the middle of the valley, you have very juicy, kind of plump texture, but still that dark black fruit. And that would go all the way along to where Tokelon is, on the foot of the hills on the west side. And then up in the western hills where you have Harlan and Bond and some of those wineries, I think you get maybe more of that earth tones and savoriness that people like in Cab. So I don't know. I always told people that if you arrived in California and never having tasted Cabernet Sauvignon, and someone said, "Hey, what does Cabernet Sauvignon taste like?" you could just hand them a glass of Oakville Cabernet Sauvignon, and it pretty much nails it every single time. So
it's like tasting a very soft velvet, if that makes sense. It's just a longevity. It's beautiful. It's different, but it's distinct.
In a broad sense, I feel like, to me, they taste like the geology in a sort of a philosophical sense, as I can taste the differences across Oakville, and I also can taste this sort of climatic effect that makes them have this body that you don't get, especially in Tokelon. I feel like no matter how you make the wine, it always has this presence in the palate, and I think that's what makes it special, and that's why historically it's been recognized as such.
I'd say in general, balance comes to mind. They're well-rounded in that they tend to be head-filling. There's no holes in the palate in drinking them. I think that's luck of climate. It is what it is. And also a nice cross-section of soil types, because it spans both sides of the valley. There's a lot of difference from one wine to the other, but by and large, I think balance is the key word.
I think in Oakville you have a lot of wild berries, very dark fruit, and a lot of herbs, the sage, the thyme. So it's a very beautiful fragrant nose with a complexity coming from the natural soil. And of course, if you use barrels, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, there you have it. I guess you might say that describing Oakville wines is a little complex.